Alrighty, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. We got a break in the nasty rainy weather. We've got some nice sunshine and a whole lot of wind now, but I figured I'd give you guys a quick update on the old 1994 F-350. You guys will recall I picked this thing up about a month ago therein, and I said I was going to do a bunch of videos, and I had some video clips, and I went to start editing videos together, and poof, all my video clips went away. So y'all are just gonna have to forgive me for that, but I figured I'll give you guys a quick walk around and I'll update you on all the shenanigans that have gone down with this little girl. So visually it pretty much looks about the same. I put some hot snot on both sides of the headache rack so it no longer flops around. I've obviously got my slip tank and my toolbox on here. I tracked down a spare tire to throw on the bed, so I'm all ready to go now. Drivetrain wise, not a whole lot has changed. I did go all the way around. I checked out all the brakes and everything, made sure, you know, lights work, all that nonsense, and I greased everything. But up here, as I slowly remember all the work I've already done, I swapped out all the tie rod ends. Steering's a lot tighter on this thing now. It is awesome. Well, I'll save under the hood for last. The interior has been absolutely transformed from what it was before. If you haven't seen it, scroll back through videos or find it, or I'll put it up in the corner. I think it's that one. Yeah, y'all are gonna have to forgive it. I've been daily driving this thing for about the last month, so floors are a little dirty. It's all kinds of muddy outside, so it's just gonna happen. I got my seat. I pulled this out of the 1990 F-250, the IDI that I had, and I put the factory red seat back into that truck and a seat cover on it. Another big advancement here. Yep. Steering wheel doesn't flop around anymore. That was super easy and quick. It was a quick job for me to do. I just had to completely explode the interior here because the dash gauge bezel had to come off. This lower panel had to come off. And then once those are out of the way, all you have is like 2 wire connections, and then it's 4 bolts and then the U-joint. And this steering column, the whole thing drops right out. And I set it out on the flatbed and replaced the bearings with a kit that Austin, actually, he had it on the shelf. He brought that up and gave it to me, which I really appreciated. And yeah, I got this thing rebuilt in no time. Other than I fixed the shift boot, the shifter's all the same, the radio still doesn't work, the dash is still cracked, but everything has been deep cleaned. The floor mat is gray again instead of dirt colored, which is awesome. There was a ton of dirt in this thing. It was, yeah, you would have had to see it to appreciate it, but yeah, when I had the seat out, I cleaned out all under it. I really scrubbed this thing down, something fierce. I took out these corner panels and scrubbed all behind those, and I took off the scuff plates, and while that was out of the way, and I cleaned out these little gutters along here in these OBS Fords. They like to rot out. There's a little lip of metal that this seal clips onto, and that's the first thing to go on every single OBS Ford. So yeah, with this one I made sure I got all that out, and I cleaned everything out good and made sure that I let that dry before I put everything back together. And the only real rust on this truck is that little channel or lip of metal right in here was gone for, I don't know, like a 2-inch section. So that's a shame, but I mean, you're just fixing to have that sometimes. I went through, put new trim clips on the door panels so they don't flop around anymore. I did notice while I was doing all that, this base model truck doesn't have any door pockets, which is kind of bothersome because I like to pack a lot of junk around with me. Obviously, I see fit to have all my tools, and yeah, I have nowhere to put anything in the interior of the truck. This thing would have had a base model bench seat without even the armrest, which is, I don't even know how people live like that, but it is what it is. Another big thing actually is doors don't flop around. And yeah, I did hinge pins and bushings on the doors here. If you guys can see that. Nice shiny new hinge pin and new bushings. That was a pretty simple job to do on this truck, especially because I just took the doors off. I found out that there's no wires. So this boot is just here for looks. There's no wires in here. There's actually no door speakers in this truck. So all I had to do was undo the 4 bolts and just take the door off, set it aside, and then I had all the room in the world. To do the hinge pins, you do have to drill out the original pin, and then you replace it with these aftermarket ones that have C-clips on the bottom. So that was a bit of a challenge, but like I said, it's a challenge when you can't take the door off or you don't want to take the door off. Once I took the door off, this was super easy job. Yeah, and then pressed in new bushings. So both doors are this way. They're nice, smooth, and easy. And under the hood, if I can find the little thing, visually it's pretty similar. I did find a little air scoop. This is the factory scoop deal that when you're going down the road, it of course jams air into your air box so you get nice cold air. It's not really a super important thing. A lot of people actually take these off and lose them because you're getting at your batteries all the time and nobody wants to have to take this thing off. It used to be screwed in, so it was kind of a pain. But what all have I ended up doing? I've done way more than I've wanted to under the hood. So the stock turbo inlet boot was all kinds of rotten, so I replaced it with that unit from Riff Raff, so that my turbo gets nice clean air. I installed a new ICP sensor. I do apologize if you guys don't know all the little terminology for these things and all their sensors. I don't know them the greatest, but I do know quite a little bit. The ICP sensor on these 7.3 Power Strokes, if you get oil in the connector, like you pop that guy off and there's oil in there, that's a sign that you need to replace the ICP. Mine had oil in it, so I went ahead and replaced it. And then the next day after I did that, I had a crank no start issue with this truck. And I found a few things. One thing is way down below where my finger was is the IPR valve. And there's a little tin nut. And it's right down, way down in there. And if that falls off, the little solenoid on there will wiggle around and whatnot. And yeah, that morning I had a crank no start issue, and I just started looking at the basics of what was going on, and I noticed that the little nut, it was completely gone. And I'd never looked at it on this truck. I knew I was supposed to, and I knew I should have, but I just neglected it. And yeah, had a crank no start. The little tin nut was gone way down in there, so I dove in trying to do that. I replaced the IPR, and still same issue. It actually wasn't that, so this thing was just running around just fine without the nut on the IPR, which is funny because I've heard of most of the time that'll fall off. It'll cause that solenoid to wiggle around, and you'll have your engine will just shut down, like going down the road sometimes, or it won't start, or you know, other nonsense like that. And for whatever reason, this one was just fine without it. But yeah, replace that. Still no start. And then what I ended up tracking down was that if I unplugged the exhaust back pressure sensor, the EBP sensor here, the engine started just fine, which was weird. And for like 2 mornings, it worked just fine. Unplug that, it would start. And then on the 3rd morning, I found that the glow plug relay had died. So I picked this one up. This is just a cheapie from O'Reilly's. So I've got a better replacement on the way, but obviously I need a glow plug relay then. So I picked up this cheap one to get me by for the time being. So now we have a new ICP, IPR, EBP glow plug relay, and I went ahead and replaced the camshaft position sensor. which is way down off to the side of the, right beside the water pump. And the camshaft position sensor on these engines, they are famous for going out. That'll go out and it'll cause your engine to just die going down the road, or you'll have like a crank no start, which is, yeah, never a good time. You don't want to deal with that. So that's why mine was still good, but I replaced it, put the new one in, and I have the old one in the truck with me. And yeah, if I ever have that issue, I can swap them out real quick, because that is the most common issue that you'll have with these things where they die, is that the camshaft position sensor's gone bad. So yeah, and then once I had all the sensors and all the nonsense taken care of, then I went ahead and I picked up this oil. This is the H-pop crossover line, I believe is what they call it. It connects your driver's side cylinder head with your passenger side cylinder head. It's supposed to help even out the idle on these things and provide better oiling to the back two injectors on the passenger side. As I understand it, it's pretty common for those back two injectors to go bad because they don't get near as much oil flow. So this line, in theory, helps remedy that. It's a cheap little bit of insurance is the way I think of it. And yeah. Then otherwise, all I've done is I changed the oil and I ran a bunch of injector cleaner through it. This truck had been sitting for a long time before I got it. They ran it every summer, but I mean, that's a lot of time where usually they get gunked up and whatnot, because you don't really think about doing basic little things to engines when you work them in small increments over a long amount of time. So just basic maintenance on this thing is all I've really done. Oh, before I forget, the first thing I had to do on this thing was the glow plugs, because those were bad. That was quite a bit of a job, and it went smooth for me, really. So you have to pull the valve covers off because they put the glow plugs under the valve covers, but otherwise it was fairly simple. You basically just remove everything that's in your way and get at them. And yeah, so she's got new glow plugs, new glow plug relay, and just every sensor you can imagine. But so far, for the past 2 weeks, this thing has been running like a top. It hasn't missed a beat, and I've been really happy with it. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I might have done that hasn't been on video that you guys might have missed. Well, actually, I got the new headlight bezel on. The old turn signal lens was broken and the bezel itself was cracked. And I tracked this guy down and got it swapped out. So it's a little nicer looking from the front now. I find it kind of funny. This is a base model truck with the gray grill instead of the chrome one, but I don't mind it. Working our way around, I can't really think of much else that I've done or had to do to this thing. Once I got the no start issue figured out, this thing hasn't missed a beat in running down the road. I've gone through a few sensors along the way, like the sensor on top of the differential is your ABS and speed sensor, and I cleaned that guy up, pulled it out of the diff housing, cleaned the end of it up, and made sure that the wire connection was good. That's a common issue with these things, because the weather gets to that guy, causes the wires to get all funky, so I wanted to make sure that was still good and healthy. And yeah, muffler's deleted, obviously. You don't need that nonsense. And somebody before me gutted the catalytic converter, so I don't even have to worry about that. But yeah, just a quick kind of update video, give you guys a quick look at the old Power Stroke while I'm thinking of it and when I can remember to give you guys the update. So far, I'm absolutely loving the truck. I was kind of hesitant, and still am a little bit. I don't know all the little electronic nonsense that goes on with these things. It's a little bit scary, but I mean, when she's running good. So hopefully I can get around to doing more hot roddy things give this thing a little more power, make it a little more fun. But just for day to day, I've been absolutely loving the thing. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned a little bit or were amused. Again, my apologies, I lost all those video clips, but well, it's not like there was a whole lot to really catch you guys up on aside from the same old maintenance and cleaning and all that nonsense that you have to do with a new truck. So yeah, anyhow, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one.